Welcome to this edition of Head to Head. I'm your host, Cam McKinney, and this is episode number 256 of the podcast. And on this episode, I'm talking about Yankees outfielders Gincarlo Stanton's injury history. This past week, it was announced that Yankees outfielder and designated hitter Gincarlo Stanton is going on the injured list with a lower body ailment. This is the Slugger's fifth consecutive year spending time on the IL. He missed almost all of 2019, played in less half the games in 2020, and last season missed 52 games. This to me is one of the biggest reasons why recently I have not looked at the New York Yankees as legitimate World Series contenders, because they cannot rely on their second best power hitter to consistently be in the lineup. That puts all of the pressure on Aaron Judge. We all thought this duo was going to be dynamic and dominant for years to come, but they have not played enough games together to have a real impact. And over the last few seasons, I really feel like people have forgotten what we have missed out on when it comes to Gincarlo Stanton. This guy was the next big power hitter. In 2017, Stanton hit 59 home runs, drove in 132 runs, and hit 281. While doing so that year, he won the NL MVP, the Silver Slugger Award for that season, and he was inarguably the best player in all of baseball. I mean, a lot of people look at Aaron Judge last season and say stuff like, we've never seen anything like this before. Well, we kind of did with Gincarlo Stanton back in 2017. 3 years prior, Stanton signed one of the biggest deals at the time. Stanton re-upped with the Marlins for 13 years, $325 million. And in December of 2017, the Yankees did what the New York Yankees do. They took an otherworldly player from a smaller organization in the Marlins who could no longer afford to pay Stanton. This was a guy coming off of a 50-plus homer season, the first to be traded after one of those seasons since Greg Vaughn, and he was the first reigning MVP to switch teams since Barry Bonds went from the Pirates to the Giants. We all know what the Yankees were expecting from this trade. They thought that Aaron Judge and Gincarlo Stanton would be the new Mantle and Maris, and that they would go on to win World Series title after World Series title, that these guys would consistently have 40-plus homer seasons, and they would be the best duo in all of baseball. And it is a massive understatement to say that has not been the case. People do not put Gincarlo Stanton in the same sentence as Aaron Judge anymore. Like at the beginning of this, Stanton was the better player and Aaron Judge was the guy becoming a star. Now Aaron Judge is the sole star on the New York Yankees, and Gincarlo Stanton, I'm sorry to say, is a bit of an afterthought. Even though I think it's the most important thing that has happened to this Yankee season is the fact that Stanton got hurt, because it is a sign to me that they are not there yet, because they still need Gincarlo Stanton to be productive in their lineup for them to be a consistent World Series contending team. Stanton was a 4-time All-Star with the Marlins. He has made only one All-Star game as a member of the Yankees. In 8 seasons with the Marlins, he hit 267 home runs. In 5 seasons with the Yankees, he's hit 115, which isn't terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not what the team was hoping for. And let me say this is not as bad as when Albert Pujols went from the Cardinals to the Angels. Stanton has been productive. The problem is he hasn't been there day in and day out. And I do want to go on record as saying this is not one of the worst contracts the Yankees have had in their history. I mean, they gave Jacoby Ellsbury a bunch of money. He became irrelevant really quick. The Yankees have had really bad contracts. Gincarlo Stanton is not that, but he's just not what you'd expect from a player making that kind of money. When you give someone that kind of money, you expect him to compete for All-Stars, you expect him to compete for MVPs, and you expect him to play every day. And I know that's a big ask, but he has not played enough to be a crucial member of the Yankees during his stint there. It just hasn't happened. I don't think he's thought of as one of the great Yankees, and I think that's what everyone was expecting. I thought Gincarlo Stanton would go there and he would be remembered as one of those all-time greats, that there was a chance that he could get his number retired, that he would be thought of as one of those all-time greats like a Reggie Jackson type. He He is nowhere near to being that, and that's not a criticism because the guy hasn't been healthy, but it's just not what Yankees fans and what the organization was expecting when they traded for this particular player. He was brought in to be a difference maker. That's what they asked him to do. He was brought there to be one of the faces of the organization, and he's not that. The only face of the organization of the Yankees right now is Aaron Judge. Maybe you could put Garrett Cole in that conversation as well. He's having a fantastic season with the Yankees so far. I mean, that's a contract that has really worked out for the Yankees. Garrett Cole has been the ace that they asked for. Giancarlo Stanton has not been the player the Yankees were expecting, and that's mostly due to health issues. And one of the most frustrating things in all of this is when Giancarlo Stanton plays, he's still a really good power hitter. He's hit 30-plus home runs 3 times as a member of the Yankees. But if he didn't miss time in some of those years would have been 40-plus homer seasons or even 50-plus homer seasons. That's why I'm kind of being critical of Stanton's time with the Yankees. They weren't asking this guy to be good. They were trading for him to be great, and he has not been great, and there's a reason why. There's a clear reason why, because each of his 5 seasons there, he has missed time with the club. This is his 5th straight year on the IL, and if he was healthy a lot of those seasons, they would have been Giancarlo Stanton-esque seasons, but alas, they have not been that, and that's the reality of the situation. And the Yankees have done a lot, I think, to keep this player healthy. They have stopped him from playing the outfield every day. They've made him basically the designated hitter of the team, but still he is getting hurt. There's not much more the club can do. I mean, this is just the reality of the situation, and I see it playing out this way for the rest of Stanton's time with the Yankees. You're just going to bank him to miss 30 to 60 games a year, and that's a lot. I know that the baseball season is 162 games, but you need Stanton there for at least 140 to 145 of them if you're ever going to be the team that has the potential to be great, because he still can have that kind of impact on a club. I'm curious about how Stanton's time with the Yankees are affecting his overall legacy. I still view him as a surefire Hall of Famer. He's now at 382 career home runs. That's tied for 70th most all time, and he is under contract until 2027, so one would have to imagine he's going to reach 500 home runs. He's only 33 years old and has some left in the tank, but barring any change, he will be remembered more for his time with the Marlins than the times with the Yankees. And there still is the possibility that all of this could change. I mean, all it would take is for one epic postseason performance, and that would change how Yankee fans feel about Stanton. And Stanton has been very good in the postseason with the team. Stanton has 11 career postseason homers. When it comes to the regular season numbers, I just feel like there's a new generation of baseball fans that don't understand how good Stanton was and how good he's still capable of being, and I find that really frustrating. Like, I feel like we are missing out on one of the best power hitters. I mean, nobody hits a baseball harder than Giancarlo Stanton. People are really missing out on one of the best power hitters of all time. And it is not hyperbole to say that if Giancarlo Stanton was fully healthy during his time with the Yankees, they would probably have won a World Series championship by now with a fully healthy Stanton. And him missing significant time is holding them back, because after Aaron Judge, there's really no other sluggers on that team. Gleyber Torres is up and down. It's early in the season, but if I were the Yankees, I would be looking to make a move for a big bat. And the guy they should be after is Pirates outfielder Brian Reynolds, who has yet to agree on a contract extension with the Pirates. If the Yankees get him, losing Giancarlo Stanton to injuries won't matter as much. But as it stands now, now, every time Stanton misses time, the team loses momentum. They are still relying on him to make an impact on the team for them to be legitimate World Series contenders. Without him right now, the Yankees are a good team, but they need Giancarlo Stanton to contribute if they want to win a ring. I feel the same way about Giancarlo Stanton as I feel about Chris Sale. I am a fan of the Boston Red Sox, and every time Chris Sale gets hurt, it is a big deal for Red Sox fans because the Red Sox are still relying on Chris Sale to be the guy that struck out 200 batters in his second season with the club. We still expect Chris Sale to be the old Chris Sale, and then he shows flashes of it, and then he gets hurt. I feel like a similar thing is happening with Giancarlo Stanton. Every time he has really good power numbers, we go, oh, Giancarlo Stanton is being Giancarlo Stanton again, and then he gets hurt, and then the team has to exist without him, and they don't have a backup plan. The Yankees don't have a backup plan for when there's no Giancarlo Stanton, just like the Red Sox have no backup plan for when there's no Chris Sale. It's a bit of an unwinnable situation for both of these teams because they are paying these players so much money that it's hard to replace them. Okay, so let's say the Red Sox replace Chris Sale and he doesn't have a spot in the rotation. What are they going to do with all that money? The Red Sox are not going to release Chris Sale. The Yankees cannot trade Giancarlo Stanton. It's too big of a contract. No other team is going to want him at this point, and they're not going to eat all of that money, nor should they. I mean, when Giancarlo Stanton plays, he is still a very good player. But keeping him and keeping the situation as is also a dangerous scenario because you are banking on the fact that one day Giancarlo Stanton is going to wake up and play 140 to 145 games, and that's not plausible. That's not going to happen. The situation is not going to get better. A player is not going to get more healthy as he ages. Stanton has had injury issues, and he's clearly going to continue to deal with stints on the IL. It's hard to be mad at anyone in this situation. Giancarlo Stanton wants to be playing baseball. The Yankees want him to be playing baseball, but for whatever reason, he continues to get hurt, and the cycle just runs over and over and over again, and it seems like it's not a big deal in the moment. Oh, Stan will just go on the IL, and then he'll come back in 6 weeks or whatever. It's a massive deal because I believe it is the thing that is holding the New York Yankees back. They have one of the best players in all of baseball right now in Aaron Judge. He does not have another dominant power hitter to go beside him. That was supposed to be Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton being out leaves a massive hole in the Yankees lineup. They have other good players. Gleyber Torres is a good player, but like I said before, he's up and down. Sometimes he's hitting 30 home runs. Sometimes he's having bad seasons. They have Anthony Rizzo. He's a really good player. He's a really good power hitter, but he's near the ending of his career. Like, the Yankees were banking on this duo for not just a season, but year after year of having Stanton and Judge, and they have not gotten that so far, and that is the story here. That duo, if they had played together, would have had a lot more success than what they've had. And now it sort of feels like time has run out on that duo. I don't see Stan ever having a 40 to 45 plus homer season ever again. He's not at 34 years old going to hit 45 home runs. Like, this duo was supposed to be special, and the Yankees were banking on it. That was the plan. So it's really hard to have a backup plan now that it hasn't worked out. But I think we've come to a point where the Yankees have to do something about the situation. It can't just keep being, oh, Stan is on the IL, we'll wait till he comes back, we'll hold down the fort. You can't do that any longer because the Yankees need to take advantage of this window of Aaron Judge being the best player in all of baseball. You don't want to waste Aaron Judge's best years waiting for Giancarlo Stanton to be Giancarlo Stanton, because most likely he'll never be Giancarlo Stanton again. What I find really interesting about baseball is something like this happens. The Yankees get Giancarlo Stanton, they pay him a bunch of money, he doesn't play a lot of games, Yankees, yet fans and the media continue to want the Yankees to be the Yankees and to spend the big money and give out the big contracts. But you look at this case like this, and it just hasn't worked out. Giancarlo Stanton has not been what the Yankees are paying him to be. That's the reality. But we still want the Yankees to be the Yankees, and people still want the Boston Red Sox to be the Boston Red Sox. They don't care that Chris Sale isn't working out. They want you to pay for the next guy. For the Yankees, they don't care that Stanton isn't working out. They want you to pay for the next guy. But it's really hard in the moment because you're kind of seeing cautionary tales of when you give a guy that much money, this is what can happen. If he doesn't live up to those expectations, you are left with an albatross of a contract. The Stanton contract has to be one of the many reasons why the Yankees have not spent as much money as they have in the past in recent years. Now, last offseason, they paid Aaron Judge, they paid Carlos Rodon. He hasn't pitched for them yet, but they did give out a lot of money last offseason. But in the years prior, they weren't handing out a bunch of money. I mean, the last big one before the Rodon contract and the Judge contract was Garrett Cole. They have not gone after a position player like Giancarlo Stanton. They have not had anyone under their 10-year deal. I think the Yankees are probably out of the 10-year contract business because of Giancarlo Stanton, and it's really hard to blame them because they are seeing in real time what can happen when a guy doesn't consistently play baseball and you're left paying him millions upon millions of dollars. I know people have no sympathy for the Yankees, but I think they should in this situation because you don't want that to happen again. I mean, everyone's talking about giving Shohei Ohtani all the money in the world. The guy pitches, the guy hits. What happens if Shohei Ohtani cannot consistently play baseball after some team gives him all the money in the world? What happens is you're left with a really bad contract situation. I think that's what the Yankees are left with in the Giancarlo Stanton deal. If the Yankees could wake up tomorrow and that contract be gone, they would agree to that. Even though Stanton is still a good player, he is not worth the money they are giving him. And it's not even about the money, it's about how many years are left on that contract. I mean, he's going to be a Yankee until at least 2027. The guy can't consistently play baseball. The situation is not going to get any better. That's why I hear the commissioner coming up with maybe a contract shouldn't be as long as 10 years. Maybe there should be a minimum or a maximum contract like in the NBA. And I really understand that. I think baseball should go that route because I don't think a team should be punished paying a player for the next decade. It doesn't really make sense in the long haul. I hear people saying, well, it keeps the salaries per year down. So what? If Giancarlo Stanton is getting a lot in 2025, who cares about 2026? You can't keep having this contract on the books. It is definitely hurting the New York Yankees that they are paying this guy a boatload of money, and he just can't stay healthy. And again, I want to keep reiterating this point. The Yankees are not paying him just to be a good player who hits 30 homers. They were paying him to be a game changer, the type of guy who could consistently hit 40 to 45, a guy who can compete for MVPs. I'm not saying Giancarlo Stanton is no longer a good baseball player. He's just not the dominant one that the Yankees were expecting, and that's all because of injury, because this could have gone very differently. If he had stayed healthy, I do believe he would still be the Giancarlo Stanton of old, but he can't remain healthy. That is a fact, not an opinion. And I am not here mocking this player. I was 100% in on the Yankees getting Giancarlo Stanton. I wanted the Red Sox to get Giancarlo Stanton. I thought of this guy as somebody who is capable of hitting 600 plus career home runs and win multiple MVPs. I thought he was a player who was going to get better. We all thought, oh, he's going to Yankee Stadium. He is going to absolutely crush baseball baseball after baseball after baseball. He's going to win multiple MVPs. The Yankees are going to win multiple World Series championships. This is the move that the Yankees had to make. It wasn't a mistake to make this move, but at some point you have to react to what is going on in the now. And in the now, the Yankees can no longer rely on this player, and they have to bring in, I don't want to say a replacement, but it basically has to be a replacement at this point, because you need to add another premier slugger to go with Aaron Judge if you want to end up winning the World Series at the end of the season. The Yankees will probably make the postseason even if Giancarlo Stanton isn't healthy. But if they don't find somebody to be that premier power hitter, if it's not Giancarlo Stanton, they are not going to win a World Series title. That is the difference another slugger would make to the Yankees, in my opinion. And I really hope that Stanton at one point does get healthy and has a really good end to his time in New York, because it's been rough. Again, 5 straight years on the IL. Nobody deserves that, especially one of the best power hitters in all of baseball, Giancarlo Stanton. Thanks for listening to this edition of Head to Head. I'm Cam McKinney, and there'll be a new episode of the podcast every Monday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so please rate, review, and subscribe.